What's good with it in the hood with it? Welcome back to the Collective Clips, where you already know, man, we're about to get it in. Now, before we do, I'd like you to hit that like and subscribe button, put your notification bells on all so that way you're abreast of all the dope content I'm kicking right here on the Collective Clips. And I appreciate each and every one of you and all the support that I've been getting, man. Hey, it's a lovely thing and it's very well appreciated and respected. But let's get into it, man, because, I felt that if for no other reason, I should talk about something that's happened in the past and something that continues to happen in the future. And I wanted to talk about Northern California gang injunctions and what they mean, what they are, and how a lot of us went through a lot of different things. We went through gang injunctions in my time, RICO cases. A lot of people are going through, validation, whether it was incarcerated in prison validation or street gang validation. There was a lot going on. It started to seem like in the 90s and carries on even today. And it's a lot of things not spoken on and people don't talk about when it comes to gangbanging or the aspect of being out there in the streets. What can happen, man? What you can be incarcerated for when you don't even think that you're doing anything. Just dressing like this, just the attire, just the image, the tattoos, the look can get you caught up being in the wrong place at the wrong time around the wrong individuals, because you can get judged based upon what other people are doing. You might not even be that one. You might not even be that character or that volatile that's actually really out there doing things, that's really out there thugging, man, and get caught up in a situation just based on you're around the wrong people. Now, Northern California gang injunctions, and I'm just speaking on my history and what I know about. There's gang injunctions that have happened everywhere. I know there was a big one in Santa Barbara County that actually shut down shop on a lot of people, man. And it has a calming effect. It's meant to calm the streets. Now, what is a gang injunction? A gang injunction is more so like a lawsuit that the city or the police department puts on individuals they believe to be involved in gangs, individuals they believe to be involved in willings and dealings that are, of course, gang related, or an injunction can be anything. But, when it comes to the gang aspect and point of things, a lot of gang injunctions went down, and what that does is it has a crippling effect on street gangs. It actually helps society. It actually, what it does is it breaks it down, man, in smaller words. It just breaks it down to the point where, it cripples the gangs from existing. It puts a hindrance in your step. It puts you on life support as a gang member. I never was involved in per se a gang injunction, man. It just had never happened in my city, in my town. It looked like it at one point, like it was going to happen. But we were validated as street gang members. It got to the point where I don't even know if you guys remember if you were part of the gang back then, but you used to have to have a gang card, man. I know in my city we had a gang card. It said your name, had a picture of you, showed what voter you were from, and you had to have that on you like your personal identification at all times. If a placa pulled up on you, if a cop happened to roll up on you, you were in a gang area, the first thing they would ask you for is your gang card. Just based on the way you look, man. You could, and if you weren't a gang member, they would ask you, why are you even in that area? And you can get cited for even being in a bad area. But you had to have your gang card. And that meant you were a validated gang member. You actually had to go down to the police department, sign a few things, take some pictures, gang tattoo pictures, all that. It got that serious, in the city, because they were trying to crack down on gang members. There was rules and regulations. We had curfews. We actually could not be more than two of us at a time in a certain area. If you were caught in an area of well-known gang members, you were around other ones, you guys could be locked up and incarcerated and get all these type of gang enhancements just for being around your homeboys on the streets, not even committing crime, just kicking back. That's how serious it got in the 90s and 2000s, whereas there was so much crime happening that was being blamed on gang members, or gang members were being involved in so much out there at that time that they actually tried to pinpoint and keep an eye on everyone. See, nowadays what you have is RICO cases, you have Fed cases, and it's all eyes on me. It's all eyes on everyone. Everyone is being watched even when you think you're not. And a lot of these cases take years and years to build up. It just doesn't happen overnight. They're just not going to come marching in, kick your front door in, and snatch you up. They're going to watch you. They're going to sit back and they're going to let you hang yourself. They're going to let you and the homeboys that you're affiliated with get caught up in a whole lot of situations so that way they can build a case. And then in that case, man, that you get caught up in, everything that gang has done or everything that was done in that area that you frequent is going to be used in court against you. Every different thing, whether you were involved in it or not, that's the way the game goes. This is true knowledge you can't get in college. Facts. I've had homeboys that were caught up in RICOs. I've had homeboys that were involved in the gang injunctions, man. One of the bigger gang injunctions that happened that I know to be a fact actually didn't happen in Northern California. I know one happened in Modesto, but the one that just hits my mind and I think about is one that happened in Santa Barbara. And they shut down shop on a lot of gangs in a lot of neighborhoods, man. And yes, it does kill crime because it's kind of like a lawsuit against gang members, man. It's kind of like, if you don't follow these rules, man, if you don't do according to what the rules and regulations say, you can't be locked up. You can't be incarcerated. You're in violation of that injunction, man. And it does hinder the movements, you know. So what's so bad about being a gang member? What, you know, if we grow up in the hoods, in the borders, in the ghettos, sometimes that's all you have. That's the only place you can go. You know, there's a lot of people, you know, when you think about gang members, you think about thugs and you think about people getting involved in crime and people hurting their own gente, people hurting people and spray painting and taggings on the walls and assaultive behavior and drive-bys and shootings. But that's not everything that it's cracked up to be, man. There's a lot of people that are lost youth. There's a lot of kids, man, that come from broken homes. Father's incarcerated or beaten on his mother. Mother doesn't give a fuck. She's too busy with the Africano in the back room. There's a lot of families, man, that got a lot going on. So the kid turns to the streets because this is like another family. These are the people that will embrace him and show him love, you know, and you become closer to these guys than your own brother, closer than your own family. So you're willing to lay your life on the line. You're willing to take the initiative and the next steps in the process of being a gang member, because you got to understand that a lot of these guys look at these homeboys as their brothers, as their only family that they have, because when in time of need, when they really needed something, that's all they had. But there's more that goes into it than just them homeboys running around on the streets, breaking in homes or vandalizing or stealing Pioneer stereos out of cars, pullouts back in the days. Those that know what a pullout is. You guys don't know what pullouts are nowadays. It's like, yeah, we used to know about pullouts. We had a lot of Kenwoods. But, you know, there's levels to this shit. And so what eventually ends up happening, man, is you get incarcerated for a petty crime or whatever crime it is. If you're lucky enough to not get caught up, maxed out, one and done for a murder or a case like that. And then you really get to understand the different elements of gangbanging. You really get to understand that it's more an organized crime thing and there's more that goes into it and there's levels. And if you're not ready and you're not cut for that, then you will be totally disregarded and thrown out like trash, because at the end of the day, man, there is no room for the weak or the weary. There is no room for anyone that hesitates. There will be no hesitation allowed. It's full go at all times. It's full 60. That's just what it is. It's not a flash in the pan type shit. It's real life. See, gangbanging is actually real life. You have to be vested. You have to be ready to take the initiative to go all the way. And that's what a lot of kids that come up as gang members, street gang members, don't understand. But see, the cops are killing you not with kindness, but they're killing it at the source. What they're doing is they're doing RICOs, they're doing gang injunctions, they're doing a lot of these things to kill the movement of the gente, to kill the movement of these gangs. Now, a lot of people are going to say to themselves, well, that's a good thing. We don't need that riff-raff crime bullshit going on out here on the guys on the streets. But who necessarily says that the gang members are the reasoning behind everything? There's a lot of crime that happens that doesn't even involve gang members, but they're automatically assumed or pinpointed, you know, oh, it must have been gang related. You notice that in the article, if you read a newspaper, at the end of the newspaper, it said this crime was not gang related or this crime is thought of to be gang related. They always have to throw the word gang in there because it makes the people doing the crime look worse. You know, anytime that you mention gangs or groups or involvement in gangs, it just, you know, it opens you up to enhancement. It opens you up to all kinds of different progress and procedures that they got going on that can max you out. That could end your career. You know, I've had homeboys that got caught with a bullet or homeboys that got caught with a strap that wasn't even loaded. And they put so many different gang enhancements on them. And because of their prior criminal history and them being validated gang members on the streets, of course, them enhancements pile shit on top of pile shit. And then next thing you know, man, the vato that could have done like 3 or 4 years in prison is doing 34 years in prison, 30 years in enhancements plus the 4-year off the top. It's just an ugly situation. There's lifers just off enhancements. And a lifer doesn't necessarily mean you have to catch the L WAP. Doesn't mean you have to catch the L. You know, life is life, man. 25 years plus is basically life, man. That's killing your life. You know, most gang members, most kids nowadays aren't going to live to the age of 25 anyways. So that's a way of pretty much ending their career. You know, gang injunctions were formulated as a plot and a plan to kill the movements out there, to kill gangs at their core, man, to hit them with their best shot, to calm them down. And it had a smooth calming effect. But it doesn't stop or change anything. People are still going to do what they do, because as long as there's money out there, there's bitches, there's crime, there's always going to be gang membership. There's always going to be people out there that like that image, that want to uphold that image, that believe in what's being pushed out there, believe in propaganda, or believe in their value. You know, you can take someone out their value, but you can't take the value out them, just like a hood rat. You can take the hoe out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the hoe, right? It's just what it is. So, you know, I remember in Modesto, they had a gang injunction, man. And they were doing sweeps. And you know about Task Force Tuesdays, if you've been in the hood, you know about gang sweeps. And to me, gang sweeps were always targeted. I always thought that it was a setup, Holmes. You know, I always thought just because you looked the part, you threw a Raiders hat on or a motherfucking Brown Pride t-shirt, you could be targeted for believing in your culture, or for being a Raiders fan, or for merely wearing all black on a dark Sunday night, or for wearing blue or red. But you know what you're doing. You know what to wear or not what to wear. If you're from California, you're going to be laced at a young age. There are color lines. You can wear certain hats and certain hoods and things of that nature, because the cops are tripping. And not only them, other gang members are tripping. Other bodies are tripping by your gang attire. But it's funny how a lot of these rules and regulations that are set forth in the foundation by the police, gang members actually follow them. You know, Task Force Tuesdays was a thing that in the hood was spoken on and kind of chuckled about, laughed about, until they came knocking at your door. You know, and Task Force Tuesday, meaning the task force was out there riding. We called them Task Force Tuesdays because that was most of the times they went down on a Tuesday. So everyone stood inside until there was no reason to be out there unless you had a holiday, go to work. But you better watch out, because the task force rolled around with the initiative to fucking get every gang member off the streets. You remember the movie Colors, man, when they looked for any type of reason to get the Crips and the Bloods off the streets, at least for a couple nights, because of the murder that happened. Well, the same thing was happening on Task Force Tuesdays. Anyone who looked the part or acted like a gang member or was in a gang area would get snatched up, sent to the county jail, man, maybe an overnight thing, or be harassed or cited and released. If you've ever been involved, you know, in gang sweeps or Task Force Tuesday, then you know what I'm talking about. Now, gang sweeps was something a little bit different. I remember in the city of Merced, man, they used to come through, slide through, and we knew all the different detectives. We knew who the gang task was, Officer Delliman and these individuals. So we knew who to look out for, just because it was a smaller city. But they started to have undercovers. They started to have vatos that looked like homeboys, kicking it in neighborhoods. They started to infuse the neighborhoods with CIs and people that were actually wearing wires and telling. And this is where they were getting a lot of their intelligence to find out, you know, who did what and what did what, and to tap phones and things of that nature. And then, of course, RICOs went into effect. You know, a couple of the biggest RICOs out of Merced County, my area, was Operation Red Right Hand, where they actually caught a few guys up on a murder case, and there were several other individuals locked up and incarcerated based upon narcotics charges. And all that was done over taps on the phone, over people speaking too much. They were able to accumulate all the evidence they needed to lock these guys up for a murder case, allegedly. I mean, that's just the way that they play, right? The other one was Operation Scrapbook out of Atwater, a crazy wordplay, right? Where they actually targeted one gang, you know, the Atwater Sureños, and they went in pretty heavy and pretty hard. They accumulated enough evidence over years of intelligence and years of CIs talking to get what they needed to incarcerate these guys and to get a RICO on them. Now, of course, a couple of the main heavy hitters allegedly were incarcerated, were taken off the streets, thinking that that would have a common effect, but it didn't do nothing, because from the ashes more sprung, and that's just how it's going to be. There's always buffers. There's always young blood, youngsters, man, looking to get ahead and ready to pick up where the last ones left off. That's how it is. You know, when it comes to Northern California gang injunctions or California gang injunctions, period, man, they were started, I would say, I mean, there's probably been older ones that I'm not aware of, but in the 90s, it seemed that's when they got heavy into the Task Force Tuesday, the gang enhancements, the what do you call it, validation process. And it was ugly. Now, when you hear people on the internet talking about validation, they're usually talking about people incarcerated. And this was a point system. You had to get validation points to be validated as a prison gang member. And then, of course, you were sent to the SHU at that time. It was an indeterminate or the whole waiting to be processed to the SHU. And then you had no get backs. You were stuck like Chuck, because you were considered a validated gang member, a prison gang member, meaning you were a nuisance and a safety and security threat to that institution or to that yard. And that was the reason behind keeping your ass behind bars and keeping your ass incarcerated, in the dungeons for so long. Of course, people were able to fight their validation packets, their validation process. And there's some people that wear it as a badge of honor. Hey, I was validated. That means I'm hard. And not everybody that was validated was really worthy of validation. There were some guys that were just in the wrong place at the right time. Or there were some guys, man, that just because of the tattoos they displayed and because they wanted to act cool, got validated. So when you see people that are validated, doesn't mean they're harder than anyone else. It just means that was a stroke of luck, man. And that's what they got caught up in. When validation hit the streets and they were validating you as street gang members, it was pretty much anyone's the cop assumed to be a gang member. Of course, they would look at your tattoos, hearsay, what other people said about you. But a lot of these guys wore it as a badge of honor. Hey, you got your gang card? I got my gang card. You got your gang card? Fuck yeah, let's do this. But let you not have that gang card and see what happens. I remember one time we were chilling out on the calle right in front of my homeboy's pad. And we thought we were hard, homes. It was about 1 a.m. We're all kicked back. I ain't gonna lie about this around 3 down. Some of us are just chilling like villains. Everyone was kicking back, having a beast at 1 a.m. Riff raff, homes. What are we doing out at 1 a.m. besides crime or bad intentions, right? But hey, that was what we thought was cool, right? So we're out there posted up like a thumbtack. And well, here's some knowledge you can't get in college. The block has actually rolled up on us. So of course, us thinking we were smarter than the cops, we jumped into the homeboy's yard. His dad came out, jumped into my yard, private property. Cops don't care about none of that. Where's your gang cards, Holmes? I happen to not have mine that night. I don't know, Spence Holmes. I was too busy trying to change my calzones and worry about what socks I were going to wear that weren't mismatched or had holes in the hood, that I wasn't tripping off my wallet and a gang card and an ID and none of that. I don't got no money anyway, so fuck it, eh? You know what I mean? So as long as she has food stamps and good suck muscles, we're good. So I actually got incarcerated that night, held overnight, and got cited out, but did get a ticket, Holmes, for not having my gang card on me. They could have crossed me up. I was on probation. My probation officer didn't violate me or nothing, things of that nature, but he did fucking yell at me a little bit. You need to have your gang card on you at all times. I said, guard, get this bitch away from me. What'd you say? I didn't say nothing. I was supposed to. Done. It could have been much worse, but it wasn't. They took it pretty serious back in the days. Gang injunctions and all that shit did cross a lot of fellas out. There's a lot of guys that are incarcerated right now doing all day, doing a lot of time behind gang injunctions, behind Task Force Tuesdays, behind validations. And it's an ugly thing. And it's a part of the game that they don't speak on. It's a part of the game that gang members will never talk about. Oh, they'll talk about the parties and who got blasted and who said what and why they said what and the rats and the roaches, the shiesty approaches and the buenos and the noches. And they'll talk about all that, but they won't talk about, the grimy, gritty part of it. How you can get canceled out and how you can get involved in a RICO when you're not even the motherfucker that killed that dude. It's just, it is what it is. That's why, with this YouTube shit, a lot of the ex-gang members or even current gang members that are speaking on, cases, you need to watch what you say, homie, because you can get caught up fast. And then everything that you've ever done in the history of your whole fucking gang memberum, actually can come into play. And that's what happens. Anything that's said on these YouTube channels, these videos that are being made, if you mention someone else's name that actually gets caught up in the case, they're going to use these videos against them. It's an ugly situation, man. Just be aware, stay ahead of the game, and understand that when you're living that life, live that life to the fullest. But at the same time, man, pay attention and be aware and know all the rules because they will catch you up. NorCal gang injunctions were real. Southern California gang injunctions were real. And they were set out there. And that process was an ugly thing, man. It was meant to shut down shop. And it did. Or did it? One never knows, does one. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose, get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive to struggle and the struggle to strive. I try to give you these little jewels if you're in the game so that way you understand, man. If your homeboy ain't giving it to you, I'll give it to you. If you want to take it and run with it, do that. If you don't, you don't have to, man. I'm just giving you guys a little bit of game so that way when you're incarcerated, when you're locked up, you can look back and say, damn, that motherfucking gunner was real, eh? Absolutely, man. I try to help you out so that way you don't get caught up because I don't want to see nobody do no time. I don't wish that upon my worst enemy, man. I don't even got enemies, I don't think. And that's facts. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle to help all the gente, help all the brothers, man, and help everybody. Because remember, black and brown unity with the sprinkle of the woods, brother, is always a great thing. The collective clips. In the mouth, ow, ow. Don't, and the mouth.